Okay, let's talk about dcloud. What you see on screen here is the alpha internal release of KloudDeploy. Um, Before I go into what KloudDeploy is, I want to give everyone a little bit of background of what inspired us to create this product. One of the um, one of the things we noticed in the recent years is that there's a lot of decentralized cloud resources that are popping up left and right. A lot of them are very highly performant and extremely affordable. However, I think one of the issues from our perspective, one of the issues with these decentralized cloud services is the developer experience and um, the way it handles payments. So, in terms of payments, it most of them don't take fiat, and that means you need to get their native tokens in order to use their resources and services, which is kind of a problem for companies, say for example, with CFOs that don't want to book crypto into their books. And also, it's kind of a pain own a bunch of native tokens across multiple different platforms just to be able to, deploy one application, right? So that's one problem. The other problem we see is kind of the user journey, the user experience of it, or developer experience, if you will. The problem with it is that, um, you know, Web3 native guys probably understand this real well. Everything just makes sense to them. But for traditional developers, the Web2 ones, sometimes the learning curve is just high enough to turn them away. In fact, I had some friends that are in AI and whatnot, and they needed GPUs, more affordable GPUs, and they looked into some of these decentralized cloud platforms and asked them like, what did you think? Did you end up choosing it? And more often than not, they're like, nah, we actually ended up not choosing them because mostly purely because of the developer experience of it. So what we did was we took that feedback into consideration and wanted to solve these two problems with a product called KloudDeploy, which sort of is how this whole product came about. Now, before I go into the product itself, because the alpha release of KloudDeploy, the first provider supported is actually Akash Network, and in Web2 terms is basically a container services platform. I would expect whoever's watching would already know and understand what Kubernetes is, what Docker and containers are, and how they're deployed in the traditional space. And if you do, it'll make all this stuff make 10 times more sense. So that said, let's get into it. So, to deploy something with KloudDeploy, the most primitive component is actually what we call a launch pack. So what is a launch pack? The launch pack is, if we're going to create a launch pack, is essentially definition of your deployment. So you pre-configure the definition of deployment so that when it comes time to deploy, you basically just press a button and it goes. Let's start on top. Let's say, name and description. Let's skip that because that's pretty self-explanatory. Go down to the builder form. This is where you put your Docker image URL, and it can be a private registry if you want. Which more oftentimes companies do have private images. You can set the CPU. You can set the GPU if you're doing AI models or 3D graphic stuff. Pick a GPU and the VRAM and interface that you want. There's anything from the RTXs all the way to H200s that are available. You can do RAM obviously and storage and environment variables for your container and the ports that you want to expose. You can add multiple services, meaning multiple containers on one launch pack. So basically it's an all-encompassing deployment, right? In microservices, oftentimes is obviously a bunch of different components that are in separate containers. So that's Launchpack. Now, once you've created a Launchpack, and we're not going to create it here just because I have a bunch of them already, you go to deployments, and you hit new deployment, and go to My Launchpacks, and your self-configured Launchpacks will all be here. But for the purpose of this demo, we're going to do things a lot simpler. Let's start with the Hello World deployment. What the Hello World deployment is actually one pager website that was created by one of the Akash's community members, who was, I think they were acquired afterwards, and all the UI stuff that we see now in Akash is them. Anyways, that's what we're going to pick to deploy. You can come down here to the service configuration and see that, here's the URL. These are the CPU memory storage configurations. Just to double check, it's all good. As long as it's all good, all I need to do is hit next. And it starts querying on chain all the information that we need to decide what provider, what region, what's the uptime we're looking for in a provider, all that into a presentable, easily readable format, as well as doing all the pricing calculations so that you can just pick and choose and go. Obviously, since this querying blockchain is doing a lot of work, this is the part of the whole entire process that takes the longest. So hang tight, bear with me, and we'll wait for it. And before I was even done talking, it's loaded. So let's just stick with the Oregon. That looks good. It's 99.74%. If you notice, also, we only present the audited providers. We do a little bit of filtering to kind of have only present some of the higher standards of providers that are available. And then we would go with the $5 for a month and proceed with select a plan. And that's pretty much it already. We just now wait for it to deploy. Now, obviously, when it's done deploying, in this space right here, you'll see an IP, and actually you'll also see a URL once it's successfully deployed, so that you can set an A record for an IP address, or use a CNAME, right? So let's see what we deployed. Let's click on that, and there's that one pager landing page demonstrating that we have deployed this website onto Akash. Okay, so you might ask, so what happened to payment? That was too easy, right? Well, no, not really, because number one, I had a balance, and two is if you notice, I have a credit card already saved on file, so it just charges my credit card. I mean, you can see this is my latest deployment right here, right? It charged me $5, and so that's pretty much it. I guess one other thing that I want to talk about is, let's close the deployment. If you're done with the deployment, all you have to do is just click on manage and just go ahead and close it and confirm. And now the deployment's closed. You also notice that we have a mission control production right here. That's actually one of the websites that's live in production. We deployed to build our community of developers, which is beyond the scope of this video, but yeah, we're using this platform ourselves for live deployments and whatnot. And in the future, what we're looking to do, number one is a command line utility, because we want to make sure that all the CI/CD folks are taken care of, as well as just developers that just want to be able to update code and be able to kind of with a single one or two commands be able to deploy to Decentralized Cloud Resources and have it just be charged to their credit card or their balance, right? And in the future, we'll also have cryptocurrency, which a payment, which is kind of a way to consolidate, have a single coin to pay for all the different decentralized cloud resources. Last but not least, that's already on the roadmap is there's a lot of legacy applications out there that still run on virtual machines, so that's on our radar. We're working on that very, very soon. In fact, we're already starting all the engineering powwow with all the different partners we're working with. So stay tuned, and I hope to come up with the next video and presenting something new and exciting to you guys again.